and I'll start formally. Even though it's just the three of us, let's make it casual, and so you ask questions when you can, right? But I'll introduce myself first. Hello, guys. My name is Desmond Du. I'm an MFA student in motion media design. So I'm a second year grad student. I graduate in the fall. So I'm a peer tutor here at SCAD Savannah. I was also a peer tutor when I was doing a BFA in motion media design in 2019. Just love teaching. So this is one of my workshop. So this is actually one of my first workshop on project management, and I base it on all the collaboration work I've done as a project manager, as an animation lead. So I'm not sure if you guys know Commotion, our event Commotion, our signature event. So I'll show it to you guys. SCAD Commotion. So we every year we run our own creative conference, so motion media department. So it's like a career fair where we have like speaking events. We also have like companies doing portfolio reviews, right? So there's a lot of management stuff. But the highlight of this event is the students coming together to work on the title sequence and also the branding deliverable. So basically anything that is any design, anything that moves is something we need to be responsible for, even logo animation over here, right? So I've done like 3 of these events, so I'm gonna briefly cover like some case studies. Okay, so for this workshop we will kind of focus more on like I said, case study implementation. It's not like After Effects where I teach you like here's what you do, right? Create a new composition. So it's a little bit more free and easy. So like I said, please ask questions. Because what works for me might not work for you, or you don't understand it. So let's have a discussion on what works best for everyone here. And I'll be using FigJam. So it's like if you guys know the app Miro, so it's like Miro on Figma to kind of explain some concept. So at the end of this workshop, hopefully you learn how to manage your project, right? Your team project with ease. Actually, personal project works as well. And also know how to delegate tasks, and so you can meet deadline and not just live abstractly, right? Get anxiety about like, oh no, it's due soon. Okay, so let's get into it. So I'm gonna share my screen. Let's see, share my screen. Where is share screen? And I will share. Okay, can you guys see it? Yes, no? Yes, okay, thanks, Victoria. Yes, participation, that's important for your EO. I'm kidding. All right, okay, let's start off with theory first, because we'll cover theory, kind of understand what exactly is project management, and also kind of a mini lecture on like how it will guide your creative career. So, and feel free, you can type the answers, or like also just say it out loud about like, what do you think project management is? And think about it for a sec, because it's a term, right? That your professor or teammate say, yeah, you just gotta manage a project, right? You just gotta do good project management to get your project done. It's like, what does it mean actually? Well, maybe we want to think about the goals, right? Maybe you want to think about like, okay, we need to get things done. So deadlines, that's one thing for sure. Okay, the second thing, maybe one thing about like, what do we need to do? So the tasks, and not just the main tasks, because sometimes we think we manage or schedule our project. We tend to think like in very big terms, like big tasks like design. But what are we designing, right? What are we animating? What shot do we need to? What are sub tasks that we need to get to actually design, right? We need to know the brief. We need to know the mood board. So it's both like the big task, the main task, right, and the sub tasks. And also it's also about communication, right? Because in our field, especially for animation, you never work in a vacuum. You're always working with someone else on the team. So the thing is, doing project is very easy. It's just working with people. That's the tough part, because there's a little bit of ego, there's a little bit of friction. So people get so it makes like project management hard. So I'm going to cover first on tasks and subtasks, right? And kind of actually analyze our training here at SCAD, actually looking at motion media design program. But I think it kind of parallels animation. You guys can see my screen, right? Just saying, just checking. It's a Figma screen. You see the whiteboard. I don't want to be sharing like an empty screen.
Yeah, no, we totally see it. You're all good.
Okay, cool. All right. So So like I said, the lens here is the scope of motion design, right? The scope is like the spectrum of what we do in motion design. So you want to also think about how it relates to your own major. So this is also like informed by UX knowledge, because in the field of motion design, animation, sequential art, it's a very big scope. You can be, you can service one little part of it. Maybe you're just doing sketches, doing animatic, you're just doing concept design, right? So this is called that opportunity space, right? Where you want to fit in. So there's a lot of opportunity here, and we're gonna go, a little bit more narrow and look at, our training here in SCAD, the BFA. Usually a BFA, right? We're trained to use software, right? We learn Adobe After Effects, Photoshop, Procreate, whatsoever. We're trained to produce, we're trained to design. So the first, task that we learn to do is, well, design. So over here, I'm gonna push it up, right? And like I say, what is top task in design? So usually we begin with, so let me zoom in a little bit closer, right? We start with ideation. After that, we come up with a creative treatment, what the story is about, right? So you get for presentation, then you think about the style, the stylization, the aesthetic. Then you finally get into like designing, right? Maybe the sketching, the style framing, you put together a storyboard, then you pitch it for your assignment. Okay. So that's part one of the process, what we do at SCAD. And the second part is, animation. So I'm gonna push this up. Yeah. So prior to animation, we have the style frames. Design is perfect or whatsoever, right? Okay, but you open up a Photoshop file, it's renamed terribly. Everything's flattened. You're like panicking because it's like you have to recreate everything. So this is part of the process as well. You need to prepare the asset. This might take actually longer than animation itself, depending on how well your team preps it. So this is something you need to pay attention to. Subsequently, you also want to do animatic so you can know how to time it. Then you do motion tests, right? So that like, all right, this actually works. You're prototyping, and then in between, so there are missing spots. So this is not like a I'll say a hard fast rule for like what design animation is, the pipeline. This is, so I left blank here for you to kind of think about like what comes after motion tests. Maybe you want to think about approvals, you know, and or it could be maybe let's see, I think about lighting, right? Depending on, say, you're doing 3D animation, right? So there's a lot of small tasks involved, and it's good to, you cannot address all of them, right? That's why you have a team, but it's good to know where your strengths lie. And of course, the last part of our training is marketing. I'm sure you guys have. You have like professional development class, right, for as a senior. So I guess, Victoria, you're not a junior or senior, so you haven't taken that class, but it's mostly you developing your personal branding, right? But it's a very, very abstract word, like, oh, you're just gonna develop your branding, right? Design a logo, get some business card. Those stuff doesn't necessarily get you a job. It makes you go through the motion of you thinking you're gonna get a job based on that. So you gotta be careful. So there's this. So what we do is actually marketing. We market ourselves, right? Whatever personal branding means. We're doing work. Oops, let me do that. We're doing work that to help us get more work, get clients, get freelance work, get employed, and usually it's demonstrated through like you documenting your process page and publishing to the website. So let me show you a sample of it so you guys can have I understand what I'm referring to. So this is my website. My website name is doitbetter.com. And then, so if you look at any of my, let's say this Pokemon one over here, right? You can, the good practice when producing process pages that you don't want to just put a final video, you want to contextualize, what did you do in this? What was your role in this project? What was this project about? Who was it for? And what was a success metric, right? So in this process page is staged in a way whereby I am like a subject matter expert. I know how to animate. I know how to work with the team. That's why you see like I lay out the design first, and then subsequently the animation process, showing like After Effects stuff, Cinema 4D, and yeah, and the compositing process, and also like how I achieved it. So this is one of my tutorial. One thing I didn't mention just now is that I do tutorials. I have a YouTube channel called No Stay Creative, so you guys can check it out if you're interested in After Effects animation. I just drop it on the link. Drop the link on the chat so you guys can follow me there or look at my stuff. Okay. So wait, I just realized I'm not showing my screen, right? I'm showing the Figma. Damn it. Yeah, yeah, my mistake. Okay, let me share my desktop. I was sharing just one part of my screen. Now I gotta repeat what I said. Okay, so as I was saying, my website, this is my website, doitbetter.com, and I'm gonna go into one of my process page for this project called Pokemon. All right, you guys can see it, right? Just give me a thumbs up. Okay,
Yeah,
thank
we
you.
can see.
Okay, so like I said, you want to contextualize what the project is about, right? Maybe write a short, small description about what's it for, who's the client, and like I said, I want positioning myself as an animator, so that's why I and also like maybe just an all rounder. I show the original design, and after that, I cover the process on how I animate it. Okay, okay, and I was saying my YouTube channel, mostly creative. If you're interested, look it up, right? In the link in the description. Okay, so let's come back to Figma. So that's personal marketing. So the reason why we do that is because you want to be able to pitch yourself in your absence. Someone's going to look up your website one day, or someone's going to refer you, but then it's like they'll think to themselves, Victoria, what's a website, right? You give it to them, and then say, oh, and then they give it to someone else, and one day they look you up, email you, and so you want that sort of that to have that opportunity, right? You don't always have to put yourself out there. You already have proof of your expertise on online, so you just need to basically push it out to the world. Okay, so that's our training at SCAD, right? So what is, and at the end of the day, when you guys graduate, you guys are gonna be some sort of junior artist. So in motion media context, you're a junior motion designer. And we are providing a service as much as we are operating Maya or maybe Photoshop, whatsoever. We are a software operator, right? We are not at the level. Maybe we get a pitch a little bit, but at most of the time, we are always just creating stuff. I have some working experience, so I understand that you're always producing stuff. You're not really talking to the client. You're just sitting down. Maybe you're part of the creative discussion, but not a lot. So let me drink some water before I carry on. Okay. So when you are, at your job, when you graduate, what you want to do, even though, yeah, it's a laborer, make sure you do a good job at producing stuff. You want to accumulate social currency of reputation. That's really how you grow as an artist, or like actually get better opportunities. Because again, our whole world, right? Opportunities are attached to people, not to this entity called companies, because people work at companies. So you have a good relationship with, say, a senior designer or producer at a company you really like to work at, right? That's good, because one day you're gonna build rapport. You're building rapport, and then they can trust you and say like, hey, when you graduate, we already offer you a job. So it's that rapport that you want to build, and also reputation that you can do your stuff. So you want to keep repeating this whole process and to get better opportunity, right? So why does this matter? Why did I introduce you this scope of all things, right? Because first of all, we gotta know the first step forward. As a leader, as project manager, I think one of the toughest thing is like, what do we do first, right? How do we sequence? How do we make it sequence everything we do in a logical way that flows really well? Everyone know. In the first place, you might work with members that are not your major, and they don't know the scope of things, so you gotta walk them through. So there's some sort of training and training involved. You gotta educate them, right? So this is how we prep a style frame, or like a sketch for a concept for a character. So you want to align on this creative part right here, and of course knowing what comes next. The first step. First step, you also want to know how it ends as well, right? You want to keep everyone informed, because along the way, some people will have anxiety build up because they're like, oh my God, we can't finish it, and you as a project manager, you gotta, hold your ground and just say like, don't worry, it's all according to plan. We got this. And also knowing where you want to be. This is more for you, right? Like I said, we cannot address everything over here. Let's just say you want to be a designer. Let me say I want to be a motion designer. I can't just, yes, I can be a generalist, right? Do everything. But maybe I specialize in design. Where to even go narrow, I can focus on art direction. So you think about it, right? So for the Victoria, maybe you're a 2D animator, right? Maybe so you can, instead of, maybe you're not doing character design, you're doing 2D animation, cell animation for, I don't know, cell effects. So that's really specific. That's what you service. So if you have the sharper you're positioning it, the better you can differentiate yourself to get a job, which is not what we cover a lot at SCAD. That's what I noticed. Everyone was always thinking, specialty, right? The word specialty is like a very, I don't know, very mystic word. It's like, I gotta find my style, gotta specialize in something. It's very vague. I think it's like, like we go through a motion of thinking we want to specialize, but you want to think about where you want to service, right? And this part of this process. I explain a little more about which area I will service. I service. So to give you context of what I just explained. Okay. So just to recap, project manager, you gotta know like start and end. Okay. Maybe not the personal marketing, right? That's more for you, but probably over here is where it matters, right? This is for you to know. There is actually a part two to this, which I'll briefly share. It's about like, when you're at a job employment, you're doing creative work. One day you might want to freelance or start your own business. Then the other tasks start to appear, right? You start to think about like, okay, what is my business? What do I make, right? Do you just make social media animation? So you start to think about like, how you want to what is the does a business produce? What are documents you need? How do you price your work? And then after that, you want to think about like networking before actually doing the job, right? You got to let people know that, oh, I have a business, I do all this stuff, and also gather the crew to do the work as well. So in SCAD, you don't want to think about like, I'm just working on my portfolio, right? You also want to think about networking, knowing people, because one day they're gonna help you get a job. Uh, you also can help them get a job because you want to work with them. You expand your service because we cannot address everything, but with a team we can. And then finally, you actually get into talking to the client where you actually define what the project is about. If you've done a SCADpro, this is pretty much what you do, right? The first lesson, first meeting is like, all right, they pitch to you, what is it about? Kind of define the scope, ask you to do some research, come with some proposal, maybe not budgeting, but schedule, yes. And then you gotta present. But the billing stuff, the money stuff is more for like freelancing, so don't even worry about that. So again, as a project manager beyond graduation, this is something you want to think about, right? You're not just depending on what type of project manager you want to be. You want to be the all-rounder that knows every single thing, or do you want to be the one managing the behind the scene of the business? Okay, so let me just scroll. My computer is slowing down because it's overheating. Let me actually go turn on the AC. Be right back. At this point, do you guys have any question? Does it make sense?
Yeah, I'm following along all right.
Okay, cool. Okay, just last segment before we get into the actual, you know, uh, the project management part, because if you're gonna be a project manager, it also somewhat informs like how you want to, I guess, live your life, or actually, the job that you want after graduation. So when after you graduate, you can get a job, right? And how you're gonna grow as an artist can be differentiated into these three areas, because you never want to be stuck just like animating. I'm sure you can do that for 2 years, a few years, right? Subsequently, you feel like there's a fatigue and you want to do something higher level, or because your skill set grow. So a job is like a subset of your career. So don't let it define. If you don't get a job, it's fine. Or like if you don't get a job that you want, it's fine, right? Just get a new job. If you prefer to create things, right, get your hand dirty, then you want to be a subject matter expert. And then when you grow and become an art director, animation director, if you feel like you're a very social person, you love talking to people much more than creating things, then you want to go for a leadership role where you are the project manager, which is what we're covering today. Or maybe you're a consultant, you're talking to a client, you're understanding what they want so that your team can service them. Or creative director, right? Maybe focusing on selling. So there's different definition of what creative director is. For me, it's more about like trying to sell the idea, the creative vision to the client. Or you can be manage the studio or the culture, right? Making sure everyone is happy. It's not just about doing the work, but making sure everyone is sane while doing the work. Okay, so at SCAD, that's a very hard balance to drive, so because we have a very short time. But for you guys who are very interested in doing both at the same time, say you want to love creating things, but you also want to be a leadership role, this is where I actually fall in. You don't want to see a leadership as like a role. You want to see it as a behavior. Even you as a single member, right? You can behave like a leader, act like a leader. So for me, think of this workshop itself is some sort of leadership behavior, right? I know I'm a subject matter expert, say in After Effects, and I organize a workshop, my own initiative to to teach you guys. So that itself is leadership, right? No one asked me to do it. Well, technically, this is my job, but I love doing it. Prior to being hired as a peer tutor, I was already doing it. So maybe even like on, let's say, an animator, let's say a sequential art, right? Your let's say sequential artist, is that how I would call it? Maybe you'll be talking to the client, about like what sort of character do they want, what sort of environment, what style, right? Instead of you just drawing stuff, you want to communicate. Also, maybe you might communicate to your team, right? This is the style guide of how to always draw the same character the same way. So yeah, think about that, right? So that's my PSA, and we can actually get into the project management part. So all this is to give you context about things we do, because project management is not like I give you, all right, teach you one software tool and that's it. You have to. It's a very abstract thing, at least for me. So do you guys have any question at this moment of time? No.
What would you say is a leader's most important behavior? If
Um,
leadership is a behavior to have, what is kind of the top tier must for it to be a good
Communicate.
leader?
That's a good question. Very good question. Definitely communication. Like I said, we don't work in vacuum, and sometimes the things how we say things. It's not about what we say. I mean, most it is, but how we say things can affect people, right? Because we're never at 100%. Especially scared. Maybe around week 4 or 5, you're like, you're dying, you're kind of stressed, you're having some life problem, and then maybe your teammate is experiencing some issues, right? Overwork, and then you go on and say like, hey, you're not working hard enough, or like, oh, this is supposed to be due like today, right? It kind of feels like, oh, I'm trying to do my best, and then you as a leader coming in and kind of judging a person, not judging but kind of like punishing a person. It feels very bad. So you gotta reassure, like, hey, it's fine, let's figure this out together. We're in a team, right? Yeah, I know you cannot finish it because you were having your grad review, or maybe your boyfriend break up with you. All right, let's work this out. Maybe so you have to think about all this contingency. It's not just planning things, because Murphy law, right? Everything that will go wrong will go wrong. Or like it's like a wedding disaster. They say like every wedding, there's always a crisis or something. So think about that. For collaboration, there's always a crisis somewhere going on. But what matters is that you communicate with the team, you build that transparency, and tell them that it's okay. We'll get this together. So you want to build the empathy and rapport for them to trust you, so they'll do their best work. So communication has many components of it. So that's one, right? Empathy. Second of all is clarity. So say, for example, you tell a designer, say, I want to design. You tell your teammate who's a designer, say, oh, design some style frames for me, some sketches. Then designer will be like, how many? What am I drawing? Colors? Like, so you want to give like tools. You want to be clear in the instruction. You want to say, can I have 5 style frames of 3 concept sketches by next Friday by this time, focusing on this thing, and please work with the other designer, maybe say Anna, to produce this set of style frames, right? You want to give them a plan, because you might like to think like, people should be responsible and kind of figure these things out on their own, but no, honestly, it's hard to kind of switch mode. You want to be the one to help them. You want to direct them. You don't hold their hands, but you tell them, all right, walk that direction, and give them what they need for their journey. So that's clarity. Third of all is transparency. Some leaders can be very authoritarian, have a lot of ego. So they come off as arrogant, and their words are very sharp and blunt. And then some people, when they don't meet the standard, they don't feel they feel very afraid to voice out. So you want to have the empathy for them, develop empathy for them to just talk to you about anything, not just about work, but about life itself, right? And this will help you better work, have a better team, because they feel safe with you. Leadership is also about creating a safe environment. There's this book called Culture Code, so you can read it. That's it's pretty good. That talks about this concept, right, of creating a safe space for your team. So that's, yeah, biggest thing about leadership, communication. Of course, there's many different things. It's for you to define it, but we're social creatures. Yeah, sorry, that was a very long answer, right? Okay.
No, it's
Any other
very
questions?
helpful. Thank you. I learned a lot.
Yeah, no problem.
If nothing
Uh,
else, that can always be used in other situations besides project management, even just with inner team dynamics. It's good qualities to kind of learn now that like SCAD doesn't teach.
yeah, yeah. I think one last thing on to conclude this segment or this question is that sometimes when things go wrong in the project, we're always finding people to blame. So you didn't do this because you did because something X, Y, and Z, right? So you want to avoid being that person. You want to kind of like be curious. Hopefully you guys watch Ted Lasso. Be curious. Learn about like, hey, what's up? What's going on in life? Let's work this through. You never want to blame. It's like having a partner. You don't want to blame it on them, right? For maybe not washing the dishes. Or you don't want to say like you didn't wash the dishes. It's more like the dishes are not washed. There's a very big difference in how you say things, right? So you want to say like you didn't design the style frames or make the assets for animation. You might want to say like, oh, the assets has not been completed yet, right? We need to get on it. That changed the whole context of it. Suddenly it's not personal, right? So keep that in mind. Okay, now we finally get into the project management stuff, giving you some tools on how to actually do the project. Okay, so the first project I want to cover is Commotion, which I showed you guys earlier. Like I said, the key, this event, right? I guess the signature thing that we do is producing like the title sequence. So you can see on my website, it's a lot of work. We spent at least like 15 weeks, about 5 months actually, 5 months. But we don't do it every single day. It's more like this is like a volunteer thing. So we try to contribute at least 4 hours, 4 to 6 hours a week, just working on his title sequence across 5 months. There's a lot of parts to it because the length is pretty long. It's about 2 minute to 3 minute. There's a lot of style frames, right? There's also we need to execute the style frames, the animation, and then so there's all moving parts, and it's not just the title sequence. We also have like title cards for student showcase. So with so much things right going on. Oh, actually, I don't need to show you this. It's mostly this part. This is basically think about like how do we execute the design from here to here. Okay. So for the 2021 Commotion, what we do, this is probably more aligned with um, with animation is, well, you have a spreadsheet with like the short list. And I'll walk you through. I have a template for you guys later, which I'll share. I'll just want to show you guys different modes or different type of spreadsheet to organize work. So for Commotion, the thing is that the design animation part runs in tandem. So that's why our spreadsheet over here, you start on the left-hand side, you can see it's design, right? You can see like sketches over here. Thumbnail sketches, and on the right side is the fully fleshed out design to be animated. So this is more of like a detailed breakdown of like a shot list, things you need to do, and you want to identify like you need to have all these basics information. What shot is it? What is the shot about? Maybe not what shot about, maybe the name, so you can refer to it easily. It's the piano shot instead of shot 20, because numbers can be very abstract. What's the camera movement? Who's working on it? Is it done? It's probably something that you need to. It's something simple, but you want some clarification in black and white, right? So is that concept art done yet, right? Is that character design done yet? So you don't want it to be like kind of, but you want this to be green. So this spreadsheet has kind of like some formulas or data selection for you to set like in progress or set done. And the spreadsheet template I'll share with you has some of these. So and let's see. So over here, you can also see another mode of a spreadsheet. It's basically the transposed version of the shot list onto a horizontal format. So this is easier to see, right? It's like a film strip now. If you have a small project, it's probably better to do something like that horizontally rather than vertical because it can be very long. But depending on how descriptive you are, right? So the next project I'm going to share with you is more kind of short form. So this is a senior thesis film by my friend Anna Yang. So I wasn't a project manager, but I am actually referencing her Google Sheet. Why is it not playing? So let me just. We don't have to watch the whole thing. I just want to show you.
The Milky Way and grow up. See the starry
Turn
nights
on.
and
Okay, sounds
learn the
on.
mysteries.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, the style frames is below. It's fine. So again, same thing. It was a small for this project. I forgot to mention that previous project, Commotion, it was a team of seven, 7 or 8, or actually more. So there's a lot of people to manage. So it's good to have like your basically your spreadsheet is like your map, right? So you need to refer to it, because if not, if you detour, you're not going to finish the project in time. This project it was only about 3 or 4 members, but it was still because it's an long form animation project, right? It's not like 10-second. So we need to have some sort of plan. Okay, so over here, it's very similar to the Commotion one, right? We have the shot list on top, and you can see that, okay, she defined like asset preparation status. Also, like, is it being animated? So you can set like not started, in progress. What's the sound effects? The more detail you have your map is, the better. So you want to, I guess, at every shot or style frame, or you want to ask like, okay, what do I need, right? What else is needed? Is it started already? Who's working on it? Do I need sound? Do I need music? So for planning for animation and video, these are all stuff you need to have. Okay. And then, so it's very straightforward, right? We have a thumbnail, and then you just list the appropriate information over here. Okay, so and there's 2 more projects to cover. This is Commotion again, this the one for this year. And this one, I guess I was able to condense more of my project management skills, so to make it even more like thorough, or like more streamlined. And I also use Notion, so I'll share with you that as well. So it's not just about spreadsheet, but spreadsheet is usually how you begin. So I'll show you the spreadsheet first. Okay, so this timeline was actually, if you guys are not familiar with a Gantt chart, right? So a Gantt chart is like a timeline, of the timeline of the things you need to do, right? So you can see that the color blocks is like how long it should take.
What is this called again?
A Gantt chart, GANTT chart, right? So use this. So I'll show you different tools on how to make this Gantt chart, because Google Sheets actually have an inbuilt one. Okay, so just to walk you through like what this Gantt chart consists of. Usually on the left-hand side, we have the things we need to do. It helps to separate down into the big task, design, and the subtasks in between. When's the start date, when's the end date, and then you visualize it. Okay, so this is a very manual process, because you will copy this, right, and then you can paste it in to color it. It's not very interactive. It's not like you change the date and then this will update, but it's good practice. It's like you start at level 0, you're not given the tools, all right? So you build everything on your own. So when you use an actual digital tool to do this, you know what to look for. So if you want to create, if you want to create a Gantt chart, you can go new from template gallery, right? And then I'm just going to hit Command F and type in Gantt chart over here. Project timeline also work as well. So it created a Gantt chart for me. So it's not very different, right? I think they probably modify it. So you can use this to plan your stuff. And I'm actually going to move this one, move this to make a copy to the master, so you guys can actually also use it. One sec. Copy. Oh wait, sorry, it's over here. Okay, so I'm gonna right click. So if you want to move sheets, right, or templates, you can copy to existing spreadsheet. So there's one that I'm gonna share with you later, like I mentioned many times. I'll put it here, and then we'll review it later. Okay, like I said, left-hand side, task title, who is the artist, who's responsible for working on it, start date, end date. Duration, honestly, I don't know, you don't really need that. You can get rid, if you see like, oh, I don't need this, you can just delete it, right? You don't always have to need to follow the template that's given to you. You can redesign your own template. That's what you need to do as a project manager, is to have that autonomy of like, or have that have your own judgment to say, I need this, I don't need that, right? So that's a Gantt chart for you. If some people pronounce it differently, Gantt chart, up to you. Okay. So far so clear, guys? Am I going too fast?
Nope.
Okay, good. So here, back to the commotion project and a sip of water. Okay, so here is the shot list again. It's a bit more simplified. We're focusing mostly on animation, right? Because the design team didn't use this spreadsheet, so I transform it to just for animation. So we don't have like two columns of thumbnails. Though you can see that some images are not replaced, which is fine. We get the idea. And we can assign the artists right over here, and then we can set the status as well. So there was 3D involved for this tile sequence. So we have extra category at the bottom for those that need 3D work. We can see, is it like model yet? Light texture? Is it like animated? So we all have, we identify the subtasks and their progress. So this makes things very clear, right? If you see all green, it's like, hell yeah. So yeah, and then same goes for our student case title card. So I'll show you a sample of the title cards at the bottom. Here we go. Yeah, so these are all the title cards that we did for the commotion event this year. It was like 22 of them, and I had like 6 animators, I believe. It's a lot of work. Okay, so if you're working with so much deliverables, you have to manage it with a spreadsheet. I don't think you can just like have it in your head or write on a piece of paper, because there's so many moving parts, so many assets, so many artists to communicate. So okay, I don't know what's wrong with my internet, but yeah, you get the point. You can check out my website, the Commotion 2022. So over here, this is a little bit more clear cut, right? Thumbnail on the left hand side. What's the name of the title card? Who's the artist working on it? What's the status? Have they given me the work file? Because sometimes, I want to render things on my end. Have they rendered the files so I can, in case I have the project file, but maybe I don't want to touch it. I just want to have it back up. But what matters is that, okay, they render a high res version for me to deliver to the client or, the student club. And is it uploaded to Drive? Okay, it's one thing to render it, but it's another thing that is it uploaded to the correct folder? So this is stuff you also need to define, right? You don't want to keep them abstract. And then I also have a naming convention, so things stay the same, right? So again, as a project manager, keep all this in mind, especially with this deliverables such with like at least over 10 or maybe actually over 7. You want to develop some sort of naming convention, depending on also what type of project. And then the second thing about project management is that, all right, we need to give feedback. It's never, you're never going to design something, animate something, it's like perfect. So for me, I pretty much primarily like I was an animation lead on this project, and I handle like pretty much a supervision of like the animation. How do I do that for 22 videos? I use this app called Frame.io. So this is very good for animators. Actually, it works with PDF and still frames as well. So you can actually annotate stuff. So let me show you an example. So Frame.io is free. It gives you like, was it 1 gigabyte or 2 gigabyte free? And let's just say, let me look at one. So what it does is that, think of it as Google Drive with video annotation. For example, I upload this file over here, right? And then after that, I can annotate. So if I play this now, okay. So this is the approved one. Actually, no, this is not the approved one. So you can see I can annotate. I'm pointing stuff. All I have to do is just click on the bottom over here. Maybe I select the arrow. Maybe I can point it and say like, all right, change color here to green, and then I can hit send. I'm not gonna do it because I don't want to. I want to preserve whatever I have. You can create other shapes. You can change the color as well. And then people can address it by clicking on the. Let's just say I address this node over here. I can it's all timestamp. So this give like your team member very specific give them clarity, right? On like, all right, do this. Sometimes you might look through a video over Zoom and just say, yeah, fix that thing, and then they forget because they didn't write it down, or they don't understand what you're trying to do, what you're trying to explain, what you're trying to tell them to address. So you can also see, you can mark as complete if it's done, right? And then you can hide the completed ones over here. So if this is done, it's done. Okay, cool. right? You can also show them because you can see who commented it. And what's very good is that you can, if you drag and drop the video on top of the existing one. So if you go back here, if I have another video, I can, let's say it was this, I can actually drag over. Actually, I don't know why it's, I guess my computer is not working with me today, but you can drag a new upload over the video and you replace it, but it preserves, say, the old version, which you can access later. You see on the top left hand side over here, I can switch to version 3 or version 1. So I can compare version as well. So you can see in the early beginnings, it's like, this is what they have, and this is what my teammates, give feedback on, right? And then sometimes, people, we don't really know what feedbacks are addressed. They might upload the versions, so you can't identify a difference. So maybe you can, you can use Frame.io to compare the version. Again, this tool is free, right? So I recommend using it. So yes, the difference is very subtle, so it's okay. I mean, the whole point is not for me to. I don't use a frame compare that often. I'm mostly just annotating stuff. So this is another part of project management, which is giving feedback, right? So that is so that's Commotion. No, actually, one last thing about Commotion is we use the app Notion. So hopefully you guys are aware about Notion. So Notion is like a collaborative workspace. Think of it as like creating a knowledge base, a wiki for your team. And you can you can write notes, you can create tables, you can create timeline. So me as an animation lead for Commotion 22 project is that, well, there was a whole hyperlinks. Honestly, that's always the sucky thing about collaboration is everyone have their own system. They're gonna drop like a Google Sheets or a Google Slides with a pitch deck. So for example, if I open this, right, this will be like the pitch deck for the Commotion 2022, right? Think of it as a style guide or it's a pitch guide. Then we have like a style guide over here, design direction. And you don't want to be in Slack or Discord just like searching for all these links. Everyone's gonna be doing that. You don't want to waste time. So at every Commotion project, I always make it a point to create a Notion page of a workspace to store all this stuff. So I've stuff from 2021 and 2022. I only started doing it from 2021, but previously I had one for 2019, but it was gone. So having this, having all this information layout, where it's will make everyone's life easier, right? It's also not just about telling people what to do, but also giving them tools to know like where things are. They don't want to open up a Google Drive and say like, where is it, right? You want to give them tools to be self-sufficient. And I use this to kind of create animation meeting notes at every meeting, right? So there's little quick links. I don't expect them to read it. The thing about using Notion is you should never expect them to learn Notion. People who love Notion will use Notion. That's the thing. People who don't, there are some people are resistant to adopting new technology. So as a leader, don't try not to enforce new tool unless it's really beneficial. So I use this tool mostly for myself. At every meeting, you should always come to meeting having an idea of what to do, or actually knowing like who's gonna, and also noting who's absent in case you need to fill in the information. Maybe some of the administrative stuff, people getting to talk about creative production. Maybe you say like, oh, make sure you upload your headshot so we can put it on a website, right? So you address those administrative stuff first, then you get into like the team objective, which is like giving feedback, talking about workflow, and also writing minutes or like notes about like what has been accomplished in that meeting, or maybe like what needs to be done. So Notion allows you to, I create templates. I have like a meeting note template. So at every meeting, I would just like, duplicate it, rename stuff, the date, and then do it. Yes, writing meeting notes is also another responsibility of a project manager. But what I primarily use Notion for, it's this animation cheat sheet. Like I say in the beginning, we want to be aligned on the creative specification. So the title cards, there was 22 of them with about 6 animators. I need to tell them really clear cut, right? What duration is, what the resolution is, what to deliver, and what is the naming convention. This needs to be defined in early beginning. If not, it's going to kind of like have a domino effect. For example, someone work in like HD, like maybe they work in 1220 with 1280 by 720, and then the rest of the team is working in 24 frames per second. You don't want that. You want everyone to know exactly what composition setting they need to use, and also what to consider when they make the animation. So if you're an animation lead, you don't want to be a project manager, you're animation lead. These are stuff you need to consider. This is where like the leadership behavior comes in. No one asked me to do this, but to make my life easier, and this is stuff I always constantly remind them. So I wrote it down for them. Okay, there's no edit because they always ask similar question, right? The elements will just stay on screen throughout the whole duration and will not animate out, right? Text animation, when should it appear? And how long should it last? Here's the animation preset to use it. So I did a survey and everyone really enjoyed this because they know what to do. So apparently it works. And this is something you can build upon, right? It's not just a one-time thing for a project. You can curate this and then, implement it for other project. So it's a lifelong process for being a project manager or, curating or like managing a project. You don't always, it's not a one-time thing. Build upon each, compound it. You want to compound this skill set so that each time, each project begin, you're getting better and better, easier and easier because you're written it down. All you need to do is just go through the motion and tweak something a little bit. So that's how I use Notion for commotion. Oh, that rhymes unintentionally. Any question here before we go to our last project?
Knowing what I know about Notion, this is very impressive. I could not even get close to doing something like this. Notion's too confusing for me.
Oh, it takes a while. When I first started, things are a bit strange, but because in a way it's like a website, it's a drag and drop website, a bit minimal. So I enjoyed it. I always keep changing things once in a while, but
it's just free to use, right? Because I've never used it before.
For student, yeah, sign up with your student email. It's free. So hell yeah. Highly recommend it. Because thing about Notion is that okay, the Notion allows you to create a Gantt chart as well. So if what I like about Notion, it combines everything. It has everything I need. So I can create a timeline. So I'm gonna type. Actually, no, I'm gonna show you the proper way. Click a plus like a block, right? And you can scroll down, and you can go to let's create a timeline view over here, right? And then I can this is a recently updated, so this is select a data source. You can ignore it. Just add a view. Oh wait, new database. Damn it. Yeah, I'm gonna add a view. Why is it telling me to link it? Let me cancel it. This used to be so much easier, but they decided to be extra. Let me redo it again. Actually, no, this works. Okay, let's just say this one over here. I can actually switch the view, table, edit view. Actually, no, I want to preserve. Shit, sorry guys. I want to preserve that data. I'll create a new view. All right, select a data source. So I'll create a new one. I don't know why is there. Where's the Victoria? Do you know like how to create a new one? Maybe I just type something.
I'm not feeling very confident that's your skills at this point. No offense.
Oh, I used to be just. I'll show you this. Okay. Let me try again.
I haven't touched Notion in a year, so I won't be able to help you.
Sorry. It's a little difficult to use.
Okay. Because I skip a step there, right? It's over here. And when I create a new view, I shouldn't click anything else. I create a new database and I create a timeline. And then I can set, say design, and I can specify the date or whatsoever. Okay. And then you can, on the timeline over here, you can just drag and drop. So you can design the Gantt chart and still have a retain. You can also add the view, right? And set it to be like a, table view.
Now that is handy.
Yeah, so you can, it's the same information. So I'm gonna go to table view and just say card tree is animation instead. I can go back to timeline view and then you can see it's reflected. And I was like, let's have it over here. So you can set it the month. I mean the I don't know, date range to be a quarter, so you can have a bigger idea. You can have like a broader picture, right? So that's why I prefer Notion, but I'll show you another tool that you guys can use called Airtable, which is free for student. So I'm gonna delete that. Okay, last project to cover is for a SCADpro. It's for this company for ACI Worldwide. Again, one of the things when working in collaboration is information. It's like we need the emails, we need to get people connected to Google Drive, Slack, the Zoom, the Discord, whatsoever. What's their website? Because you're working with new people, you don't know what the skill set is. So it's good to have like a roster page, where you kind of know like what major are they. So this spreadsheet is more for, like I say, SCADpro, like intermajor, like for collaboration. So over here on the right hand side we have like, all right, have you sent an NDA for the client? So if it's done, it's like white. If not, it's like it's red, right? So you need to get the person access to Slack. So your responsibility as a project manager is to make sure they have access to everything, at the start of the project. The sooner you can get this done, you don't have people to say like, I haven't had Slack for like like a month now, or like Google Drive for like haven't had access for a month. So this should be like addressed in the first week if you're doing a SCADpro project, or maybe any big collaboration. But because you're working with strangers, you don't know what they're good at. Some people are good at design, some people are good at animation. You don't know that, but you can create a template for them to actually score themselves. So I call this like a team capacity map. So of us here of the score legend, right? They rate themselves from 1 to 5. The left hand side is what are the skill set. So let's focus on production or visualization. Maybe this is more relevant to us. So I'll ask people to rate themselves. What's the score on like graphic design, right? So you can see, and it accumulates at the end. So we can see, oh, we're very strong in graphic design, but we suck at 3D animation. Hopefully this project won't have 3D animation. So it's not a big thing to like a big deal if you don't have it, but it's good to give you an idea of like where everyone's skill set lies if the project is especially UX, very UX centric.
It's definitely a very professional way of kind of having an introduction to everyone without it, feeling impersonal and taking like forever.
Yeah, exactly. So you have to make the tools to make this accessible, right? And again, these are roles, name of role and responsibility. It's by my professor who facilitated SCAD class. I just copy it and paste it here so people can read it. I was like, oh, okay, I want to be research lead. I had the pictures on my own. So give just for fun. All right. Also try to have fun in your spreadsheet and add pictures where you can. So if you want to add pictures in cell, you can just insert, right? And then after that, image, and select insert image in cell, and then you select the appropriate image, right? So that's how I did all the cell, like for all the thumbnails you saw in the spreadsheet I showed you previously. That's how I did it. So in a big team, it's good to have all this responsibility layout because you don't want to be caught saying like, oh, I didn't know how to do that, or like that's not my job. You don't want to have that sort of like miscommunication. And also, right, sometimes the spreadsheet is more for yourself. So you also want to define like extra meeting hours. What's your primary file sharing tool? What communication platform? It's always Slack or Discord, right? And you can also curate like hyperlinks, so like when people ask for it, you can just throw it, just tell them where it is. I'll show you a better version in the template. And the final thing for this project is Airtable. This is another tool, so let me just open up Airtable. Airtable, think of it as a database tool, right? It's very similar to Notion, but it focuses more on database. I just want to go to the website. But it's like you can create, let me just enter it. Okay. So this is the spreadsheet. It's essentially a spreadsheet that you can change the view to presentation or Gantt chart or timeline, right? So these are all the stuff we did for like this SCADpro collaboration. So the task on the left side, we can also tag it. So we know like, all right, this part is primary research. So it makes things more readable, right? You're not looking over here trying to find the specific information about like, where is primary research? What part of primary research are we on? You can specify start and end date, who's responsible for it, status, right? It's a little bit very cleaner version compared to like what we had in the Google Sheets. And we can create new views, right? We can create like a Gantt chart, and similar to a Notion thing, we can just drag and drop, not drag and drop. We can just move this, make it longer. I'm gonna undo that. Yeah, and then you can shift it as well. You can change the view to say month, so you get a tighter view of your things you need to do. I'm gonna switch it back to quarter. So Airtable is another option to use. It's very database centric. I have not used this for like Shotlist, so you can give it a try, experiment. It's free again, Airtable. Yeah, and then but there was a lot of things I just shared with you. But ultimately, if there's one tool you need to use in for your project management, it's just Google Sheets. Okay, Google Sheets won't scare people. Surely everyone works with spreadsheet, right? They at least know how to Microsoft Excel. So I have this spreadsheet over here, which I'll share with you right now, and you guys can use it for your own project. You can make a copy. So I wrote some small instruction over here. It's actually based off something that I seen called the UX rainbow spreadsheet. So this is customize the spreadsheet to however you want to fit in your team. Maybe you don't need everything, right? But it covers pretty much everything that I went through just now. For example, when you begin a project, first of all, okay, let's maybe describe about like who's the client. Some people, like when they do SCADpro, even though they know what they sign up for, they're still very vague about it. Or maybe it's like Deloitte. What does Deloitte do? You can add hyperlinks over here, the URLs, right, to keep everything in an orderly place, right? You want to specify, like I say, specify extra meeting hours. When you're doing SCADpro, maybe a senior project, collaboration, those two classes are not, you definitely need more time. You're going to schedule like an extra time. So make sure to schedule like, say, every Friday, 2 p.m. to meet. That'll be the primary one that everyone must attend. Maybe the secondary one is like, okay, crunch time. We got to have an extra meeting on the weekend or over Zoom. So you can specify that. So the clearer all this information are at the start, the better, right? So we don't need to worry. The roster. So there is a template over here. So you can put in your name, you put an image. So I put Spider-Man here, just to show you guys. You can put an image inside a cell. SCAD email. Maybe they don't like to use the SCAD email for apps, so you can have them listed. Phone number, call them because of emergency. Portfolio website, LinkedIn because you want to connect with them after the project, or maybe that might be something used for the process page. I don't know. Major, minor. These are very pretty straightforward. Thing about SCADpro is it's mostly a UX project, but not a lot of people have taken a UX class, so it's good to clarify that at the start. Because if no one knows UX stuff, and it's a UX project, and you guys are like, there's a lot of work to be done. The expected graduation day is more for yourself, like just so you can talk to your peers to build like rapport in case you're working with someone new, right? It's like, oh, when do you graduate? Or maybe you can say, oh, especially I noticed you're graduating this quarter. What's your graduation? What do you plan to do? And then you can specify the roles, right? What the primary role is, because it might be a small team. They might have a secondary role. So maybe your primary role might be project manager. Secondary role might be, let's see, maybe designer, asset designer, right? Something small. Ignore this one, but you can change this to whatever you want to be. So, there's also check boxes, right? Do they have access to Slack? They have Drive, access to Miro, Figma, whatever apps you need. Over here, there's a formula that concatenates or combines all the text over here. So if this was Eddie Parker, right, it will also reflect over here. So you guys work on Slack, on Discord. So my friend created this, my teammate created this. So because he want to copy and paste and just dump it onto Discord. So it's he creates an access point for people to get the information without accessing the spreadsheet. So that's something you can use. Rows. Okay, this is straightforward. No changes here. You feel free to create your own rows and remove the one that you don't need. The team capacity map. I kind of removed everything for you. And it actually referenced the data from your roster. So if I have another person over here, I don't know why I keep burping. Say Sophie Chan. Yeah, whatever. And then let's create what's another person? John Cena. Okay, so if we go back to our team capacity map, you can see it's reflected here. If you have more members, I'll make sure to add more columns, and that's when you can specify like their score, right? They can start scoring themselves 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so the team capacity map. And this is okay, this is a bonus. The weekly plan, it's like, okay, maybe is because you want to keep everything condensed in this spreadsheet. You might write down the things you need to do, right? In week 1, what do you want to accomplish? Is it started already? So you could use it, or if you have your own methods, it's fine. I just want to have it there. The Gantt chart. Okay, this is the old one, so I'm gonna get rid of this one. So I'll use the one that I showed you guys just now. So this is a Google Sheet template, so everyone has it as long as they're using Google. So yeah, and then the spreadsheet that I use for the senior project pause is also here as well. So so Victoria, so if you're doing your animation film project, you can use this spreadsheet. There's a more detailed version of the Commotion one, right? It's all, I deleted everything, so you guys can modify it, use it. This is a sample shot list, right, for the Commotion 2021, so you can kind of understand like, all right, what do we need to include for creative production? And especially in collaboration, you got to credit people at the end, so make sure to have it like nicely laid out here, because people might have dual roles. So the roster is good, but it's more for like, it's a database. This is more like something you paste onto like the credit rows at the end. Say you're putting when you're creating the credits in After Effects or Premiere Pro, you want to have all this information laid out, so you can just paste on it, right? So this spreadsheet is it's for you. Make a copy and use it. And yeah, if you have any questions, please let me know, because that was the final segment of this workshop.
I
Yes,
do have a
Victoria?
question just about Notion, because I started learning about it in the beginning of the pandemic, just like with tutorials and stuff. But my main issue with it was that I don't know if this is true or not, because I know they update it and stuff, but it seemed like it was always like in an editing mode, and I could never get it to go to like a view mode. Like, for example, like if I clicked on it, I
If you-
clicked on something, it would always give me the option to edit. And I kind of just wanted like a clean, like almost like if I was going to a website or something.
Oh, you want to like lock it?
Yeah.
So you can lock database. Let's just say I don't want to touch the data over here. You can go over here and lock database, right? So
Oh,
if someone try to delete it, they cannot do it. If I unlocked it, right? Yeah, right click, delete. I won't do that. But yeah, you don't want to have that. You don't want to give the teammate the option to do so. So make sure to lock it. Does that answer your question?
yeah, I think so. Because that's like initially why I stopped using it, was because like, I don't know, it was just getting like too confusing for me. So I think that would help me out more.
Yeah, try not to have too many things. The thing about Notion is that you feel like, oh, I'm gonna create all these sub pages, pages within pages, and then you realize you cannot find things very well. So I try
Yeah.
to keep it very simple. Meeting notes, right? Very straightforward. Cheat sheet, straightforward. This is more about like how to do things, right? And that's it. It's mostly just to take notes and put stuff in. Well, we do have a roster over here actually. So if I show you the 2022 one. So Commotion, we mostly use Notion. So we have like names on left hand side, what department, right? What team they're on, animation, design, whatever. Sometimes we're working virtually because of pandemic, so we want to know if we want to troubleshoot stuff, we want to know like what machine they're on. The horoscope stuff and it's more for like for fun, to build up. I always do this at Commotion. It's like, what's a horoscope, right? And what's a Chinese horoscope as well? Because if you combine them together, you get a different animal. And it's very true. It's called primal astrology. So give it a try. So that's always a good way to be icebreaker. Another responsibility of the project manager. student email, prefer email, favorite dessert. I don't know. It was actually from a template. I just decided to stick it there. Website. So it's very similar to this Google spreadsheet, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I had a second question. So you've been showing us like all these different programs, but I was wondering like what's the usual ones you will like limit it down to for a project?
I would say Google Sheets. It's if it's a very long project, right? And I'm the sole like project manager. I always use it's a preference because I really love Notion, but there are some parts of it. It's like I cannot do a short list like this in Notion. I can, but it's honestly better. It looks better on Google Sheets because it's so straightforward, right? So I sometimes have to use both of them. So for promotion, I use for shortlist, just for the shortlist, I have on Google Sheets. So people are more comfortable using it. And then for Notion, it's more about for me, just for taking notes. So I'll show you again. So over here, no one's gonna use Notion. Not saying no one, but they rarely use the Notion I created. I can actually see like if you see on the right hand side, you can see who view it, right? And I would notice like not everyone like always look at it, but in case they miss a meeting, I can always point them to say like, all right, this is what you have to do, right? I wrote down notes, right? So like Greg, focus on this, right? Kathy, do that. Okay. So in their absence, if they just read this, they know what to do. Yeah.
So like you use Notion as like a home page for your team, basically.
Yes, that's well put. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So different project manager, different style. Find one that works for you, and also one that works for your team.
Okay. I think that's all my questions. Thank you.
Awesome.
I have like 5 pages of notes that I took from this whole meeting. I'm like learning so much. So
Happy to hear that. Yeah, it'll be uploaded online. So actually also drop you guys the all the workshops that I did last quarter. It's a unlisted playlist. Where the hell is it? Oh right, I'm not. I'm accessing it via my personal account. Let me switch it. So this is the one. So I'll copy this one. So yeah, as long as you have the link, you can access it. Where is the chat panel? Okay, got it. Okay, so it'll be uploaded here. I'll probably upload it, by the end of the day. So you guys can refer to it, or prove to your professor, right? I was in the ELO, right? Yeah, so check that out. Alexandra, do you have any question? Are you even still there?
No, I'm still here. I was just amazed at the spreadsheet and I was copying and pasting it and it's really amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that. Yeah. So if you guys have any more questions, I'll be happy to answer them. I can, even if it's not about project management, it can be about motion design. We can talk about that. But
I
if you
do have a
guys,
quick question.
yeah.
How do you find because I know I've already asked you about leadership. Is there like a specific approach you take to managing like artists versus like I guess business-minded people?
Oh, that's a very good question.
Because I know you were talking about like the empathy and the emotion. I know dealing with artists, they're a specific breed of people, and like you can't push an artist too much, or you'll not get anything from them. So I was just wondering if you have any like differences, because as a sequential artist, I'll mainly be working with other artists. So I want to know any like key points that are a little bit different than like normal leadership for working with artists.
Yeah. So I think this might fall under the category of leadership style. For me, it's humor. I like to make people laugh. So I'm sure you see in a team, there's quite a lot of Chinese students, or maybe like international students. They're not comfortable speaking because they don't think their English that good, but they're hard workers. They're just very shy, or people are just shy in nature, right? They're just like, they're actually like very excited about it, just nodding their head, not even like trying to be obvious about smiling or excitement. So you have to make. So what I do is just make them laugh, right? Make them enjoy themselves, make it fun. You want to make it safe for them. So that's why in the especially I had like horoscope, right? When an icebreaker is like, all right, everyone, tell me about yourself. What's your major? What's your horoscope? And combine it with your Chinese horoscope and see what animal you get. And there you can see everyone's like, what? Like, what is this primal horoscope thing? Suddenly their guard is like, they let their guard down, right? They feel a little bit like you're vulnerable, right? To be funny. And they will kind of, that's how you build rapport. Sometimes it's not about like, oh, I know everything. Sometimes it's about, wow, I was so stupid, man. When you like just laugh at yourself, it makes it's also like another way of creating empathy. So you don't really need to have always need to know what to do. You just need to look like look like you know what you're doing. There's many different ways. So humor, like I say, is one of them. Another way is curiosity, right? Sometimes people are just, they think you don't care, but if you ask more questions, like, wow, how'd you do this? Wow, that was really cool. Can you show me more? They suddenly feel like, oh wow, someone's interested in me. Then they're excited to see you. Let's just say, you had one class, you had good interaction. Next class, oh hey, it's Alexandra. How are you? How's the weekend? I think that curiosity is also how you build rapport. It makes you more comfortable to build up. But again, human nature is very unpredictable. All I can share with you, this has to be like life experience. You have to kind of know this through life experiences. And because my leadership style is my leadership style, your leadership style, it will be very different. My friend, my teammate, Steven, who's happened my housemate, he was the project manager, the co-lead for the SCADpro. I don't think he notices, but his leadership style is like just talking non-stop. But he doesn't make you feel, oh god, stop talking. It's more like he will talk about like very interesting things, or like talk about you. He makes you feel very comfortable to share about yourself, right? So that's the leadership style. And I would progressively remind him, like, like, we're able to do this project because you were there. But he'll say, I didn't do a lot. Sometimes having a high social capacity but the production output is low, it's still a very valuable team member. You don't always want to think like, oh wow, that person can produce a lot, must be useless. You can't think like that. You want to balance the people who can do the work and people who can facilitate doing the work. So all you can do again is through experience. I can say all this, but one day you have to implement it, and you can only hopefully remember, Desmond said that, I'm gonna try to be funny this time. Hopefully you remember, but you can also do your own research. So here are books that I recommend. Verbal Judo, it's very straightforward. So yeah, Verbal Judo, it's talk the agenda art persuasion. It's about like, I feel like it's like Tai Chi. He called it judo, but you're trying to, sometimes when we're arguing, not arguing, there's friction. I try not to use the word argue, or like I try to say like that. I try not to label people. I try to describe the interaction usually by say friction. There was a lot of friction between the creative director and the team members that one year, right? So I don't want to talk about the person. So this verbal judo is always about being curious. You're trying to not, you don't want to already assume that you're wrong. You really listen, you really question, and then you can de-escalate the situation. So it doesn't just talk about persuasion, it also talk about like building empathy and rapport. That's one thing you can read up about. There's culture code. If you have Audible, you can also read about, you can just listen to it, in case you're not a reader. I'm sure there's a YouTube video on it somewhere. Culture codes, yeah. So if out of these 4 books, if there's any book that I want you to read first, it'll be this one. It's so straightforward, and I know that it's very like what clickbaity or like very like YouTube video names, right? How to win friends and influence people. But it was like an OG book, like before all this clickbait thing came about. I read this book like maybe 5 years or maybe 7 years ago, and it's so simple. It makes like, oh, I just need to we just need to think about other people, not ourselves, right? We want to think about, especially for job. Oh,
Yeah,
Victoria,
I've
you have something to
definitely
say?
seen this book highly recommended by a lot of different people.
Mm. So I recommend this book to start off first. Victoria, you have a question?
Oh yeah, I just wanted to say I have another book by that author. I
Oh
think
yeah.
it's called like How to Stop Worrying and Be Happy, something like that. And it was really
Oh, there
interesting.
you go. Yeah.
So he just has all
Oh
the
yeah,
secrets
Start
to
Living.
life.
Okay. I have
That's the
not checked that
one.
out. I need to look at that. Yes. Yeah, SCAD do make you worry a lot. I mean, the coursework, the amount of coursework, and the pace, it's quite a lot. So, mm, yeah. So I hope I answer your question, Alexandra.
Yeah, totally. Thank you.
No problem. Andy, what about you? Any question?
Oh, actually, I don't have many problems. Just trying to let the information soak in my mind, and yeah.
I see, I see. Okay. All right. Good to have you.
Thank you. Oh,
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of tutorials from you.
Oh, thank you. What major are you?
Multimedia.
Motion media.
Yeah, I'm a newcomer graduate, but I'm still in my SLS class for this
Ah,
quarter.
I see, I see. Maybe I'll see you around. Make sure to say hi.
Mm, okay, yeah,
All right.
definitely.
Yeah. Where are you from?
I'm from Taiwan.
Oh, okay, okay. Yes, a lot of Taiwan student. Yeah. 如果你要跟我讲华文，我也可以。
对吗？哎，哦，原来你会说中文，太赞了。
我会说中文啊，但是我中文没有蛮差劲的，因为在美国太久了，所以
没关系，没关系。我英文也可以讲的，是都。
OK，那就用英文。I was just telling Andy that I can speak Mandarin, so some international students feel more comfortable just speaking in Mandarin, and they're always very shocked for some reason that they learned that I can speak Mandarin. I was like, oh, I was like, dude, I'm Chinese.
Yeah, you're pretty fluent in English. I'd have to say, yeah.
I mean, speaking another language does come in handy. Like just today, there's this poor woman trying to deliver groceries to the dorm, did not speak a lick of English, and like was so
my.
lost. And she just
Oh
pulled me
my.
aside and like we had to use a translator app. I felt
Oh,
so bad for her. She not one English word.
it must be scary. Oh my God. But yeah, always good to learn more languages. Anyway, this concludes this workshop. Feel free to reach out to me. You can through email or Instagram. Actually, Instagram is better. I'll drop my Instagram um, because it's just faster. Let me just drop it. This is so slow. Okay, and we'll stop recording as well.